Well, welcome back to another episode of JayBee and Will, the Kickback Corner. We have a special guest today. Her name is Krista. We're going to talk about a little bit about her background and what she does. And please feel free to comment if you have any questions for us, for her, and share if you can, please. And we'll go from there. Welcome,
Great.
Krista. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
That's good.
Yeah.
So
How's your day so far?
It's been pretty mellow so far.
That's good.
Yeah, I knew I was going to do this, so I didn't really set up anything to paint today. And usually I take Saturday and Sunday off anyway. I've been trying to make a routine for myself in quarantine. So
Gotcha.
yeah, helps keep me sane.
You and Will are related somehow, correct?
Yes.
All right.
somehow,
We're,
yeah,
we were trying to figure it out. It's second cousins, I think.
second cousin. So, I mean, long story short, I didn't really grow up with extended family that I necessarily knew of. Like, it's funny, I have second cousins, like literally right up the street, that have been living here their whole lives, and I could have been in a Starbucks like right behind them and not even known I was related. So the situation with Krista though is my dad's brother about 3 years ago had stage 4 cancer, and we didn't really keep in touch, and my dad kind of spent the last 6 months of his life with him, and at that time, like, there was family coming in, to come see him, before he passed away. And Krista's brother, Jason, was one of the people I met. And like, I was telling her, like, I instantaneously knew that we were related.
Yeah.
It's just this distinct thing about being Awad that you could kind of tell, like, when someone's part of our bloodline. But it was pretty trippy to see, because I would kind of define Jason as being somewhat eccentric, which I kind of am too. Like, I don't shy away from that. So, growing up, the reason why I put this together is because, like, I met Jason, but I never had a chance to meet Krista. Like, this is the first time I'm talking to Krista.
Yeah.
And, I kind of kept in touch with Jason. He lives in, you guys live in Hollywood, right? Both of you?
Yeah, he lives just up the street from me, so.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So, I mean, like, with him, I kept in contact with him through text, sometimes a phone call or whatever. And, I would see your page, your art page or whatever, or him, like, promote your gallery shows. And for me growing up, I was always, like, doodling. Like, I never paid attention in class. Like, I remember even being in the 5th grade, like, this one instance where my mom knew there was a problem was my teacher had called, like, a parent-teacher conference or whatever, because I was drawing in class all the time.
Yeah.
And he had me bring my backpack, to the meeting. And he's like, okay, I want you to empty out your backpack. So, like, I'm literally, like, pulling out, like, just randomness out of my backpack. Like, it looks like something exploded in there,
Yeah.
That's how organized I was. And I had drawn this picture of, I don't know if Krista knows much about Metallica, but James Hetfield, John knows.
I know Metallica.
Yeah, well,
I know Metallica.
we're just meeting, so I don't,
Yeah.
But I drew a picture of James Hetfield back in the day. He had a handlebar mustache.
Oh, God.
I wrote on the top Metallica. And my science teacher had a mustache. And he thought I was drawing him. He couldn't read that it said Metallica. He thought it said Mr. Killian. Hi, Mr. Killian. He thought it said Mr. Killian up top. And I had to, like, go through hell to explain to him, like, no, this is the lead singer of Metallica. You know what I mean? So that's how I was in school. Like, people would ask me to, I'd always, like, in high school, I was smoking a lot, and they wanted me to draw a marijuana leaf or whatever. Like, I constantly drew marijuana leaves. I got into this phase of just drawing all over folders and stuff. And I always wondered, like, why I was always like trying to create something, because, like I said, I didn't know my extended family. Everybody in my immediate family is completely left-minded. My brother has an accounting degree. My sister's a lawyer.
Yeah.
My parents are all about, like, my dad's all about running businesses, and they never really understood why I wanted to pursue art when I was going to college.
Creativity.
Yeah, they just didn't get it.
Yeah.
So I didn't have that fostering. So when I saw your page, I was like, oh my gosh, there's more out there. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know there was like more, So I was like, I got to get you on. And I was kind of like, I want to say your art is both motivating and discouraging, in that, like, it motivates me because, when I see artwork, it makes me want to make art. But at the same time, it's like, damn, you're so damn good at it. It's like, there's nothing I feel like, yeah, there's nothing I could do to kind of live up to like what you do, because you make a lot of oil paintings.
Well, for the record, I was very lucky that my family was very nurturing of it. So my dad painted all of his like childhood and youth when he was young. And when he moved here, he pretty much put it aside so he could survive, and make a life and business. He met my mom, and they pretty much started having us kids right away. So he was like, head to the ground to make some money for his family. So he paints a little bit now. We've been trying to break him back into it. But then again, too, Jason's a very talented artist. So me being, the youngest, I got to grow up, with multiple influences. And then, of course, my mother is just nurturing all around. So she was like, oh, she loves this and she wants to keep doing this. Let's, encourage it.
Yeah. And your dad, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask, so this is, you do artwork for a living, correct? Is that?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
It's been, I started, let's see, my professional career probably right after I graduated my BFA from Grand Valley. But I was always, I think my first art sale was when I was like 14. So
wow. Okay.
Yeah, like I was always making and doing things, but I never really took into consideration like this is when your career officially starts. I would say when I considered myself a professional is after I got my BFA. But it's definitely not, it's not an easy life. Like I work multiple things to survive. So I work at galleries, I work as a studio assistant, I make my own art, and then I've also worked in the hotel living room bar lounge, so LA is very expensive. I have to have many.
Totally agree there. Totally agree.
Mm-hmm. So I don't want to discourage anyone and think like right now, I mean, I'm just surviving off of my art, but right now I'm surviving off of, I had to collect unemployment from the restaurant that I work at, because I was living paycheck to paycheck with that. So, and also any sales that I get from my art, which is always a wonderful benefit to help,
So you said your dad painted in his youth, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's
yeah.
Subhi, right?
Subhi, yeah.
Okay.
Call him Sam.
Okay,
we
Sam.
all call him
Sam. He sorry, I didn't mean to put it on blast on Facebook.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
You said he painted in his youth. What type of medium and like what type of style? I mean, was there anything particular? Because you said he's kind of dabbling right now, right?
I think he did everything from acrylic to oil. He liked a lot of landscapes. He, it was mostly like what was accessible to him. So what he saw and stuff. Because I know when they were younger, things weren't as accessible to them. And as they got older and his dad was able to provide more for them and stuff, where they were living and whatnot. He tried to keep up in the best way he could. But that's the thing about art is, there are very expensive art supplies out there, but it doesn't, you know, when you're creative, you just got to be creative. So that's why street artists are so, you know, dominant right now too, because it's whatever the tools that you have, it's just, you know, more so about the creativity.
Okay,
now,
so
if you don't mind, I just when it comes to when someone says that they do artwork for a living, how difficult is it to get let's say your product out there, have people see it, and you know, and get people interested, you know?
I'd say it's just more so before you do anything, it's about figuring out your voice as an artist, about being consistent with that and developing your style that makes you individual and what makes your work interesting to others and speak to others. And then once you have that voice, really then you can work on, you know, expanding to websites, you know, Instagram and all these social media platforms, which are making it so amazing, but also kind of hindering because it's very saturated.
Oh.
But also, you know, staying relevant in your local community. So I reach out to a lot of my neighbors. I reach out to a lot of, you know, local places, local galleries. Like I just did a recent talk and demo at the Santa Paula for Art Society. And that's like maybe an hour so north of here. And it was wonderful to be like more, you know, about community and bringing people together. So that's essentially what art originally, one of its main focuses should be, is always about community.
Gotcha.
So you said you moved out here 2011, right? From Flint?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I lived in Grand Rapids while I was getting my degree.
Okay, where's that?
Where's that?
I don't even
Grand
know.
Rapids?
Yeah.
So, wait, we gotta go this way? Grand Rapids? I got it backwards. I just know that it's here. You know, Flint's here. Grand Rapids is here. So
it's in Michigan, is what you're saying. Okay.
It's the west side. It's
the west side of Michigan. Okay.
Yeah. I was there for 5 years, 5.5 years, and then I planned on maybe staying for a bit. But then Jason was already out here. My brother was already out here in California. And as a graduation present was like, bought me a plane ticket to come stay with him for a visit, you know, and then I knew that once I was out, I think he knew once I was out here, I wasn't going to want to go home. So I was like, oh, like he had a 2-bedroom apartment, and just so happens that he invited his sister out. So yeah.
Did you actually stay that first trip? Like he called?
No, I mean, I stayed, since it was like a one-way, I stayed for I think like 2.5 weeks, and then I realized I committed. And also that's when I met the people at the, you know, the hotel that I work at for a bar restaurant job, and I was like, all right, I can just literally move in with my brother, start working this bar job, and just, you know, put my head to the ground and see what I can do, because there was all these, you know, opportunities and possibilities calling me out here, and I really didn't have much like beckoning me back home, unfortunately. Like it just, the art scene, I would say back home was even harder for me to like find my place in it. And also like Michigan, I love it, but it's just to get people to look at abstract and contemporary art is so much more of a fight. Whereas LA is like, oh, we're on this train. We're ready for experimental work. We're ready for females. We're ready. You know what I mean? It just seems so much more open, and possibilities came to me here. So. Right.
So coming out here, I mean, was that the driving force? Is that you wanted to get your art recognized, or you wanted to get?
Yeah. I've literally, this is the one thing that I'm grateful for, that I have never faltered, is since I was a little wee Awad, I wanted to be a painter. So how I figured out how to do that, I've just taken it day by day. And like I said, I've kind of listened to like, well, this opportunity is presenting yourself. Not many people would have this opportunity to randomly present to themselves, like a job and a place. Like those are the two hardest things to find in LA. Right. Like once you have that laid out for you, it's like, I'd be foolish and stupid not to take it. So.
Mm-hmm. So Jason, you said Jason does art too. I remember the first time I talked to him, I asked him, I said, "What do you guys do?" I said, "What do you do?" And he says, you know, "I make art," you know, and I was like, but then I always see him drop an engine like.
Yeah, now he's obsessed with his cars.
Yeah.
Which is a whole nother creative way
It
of
is.
using it too. So.
Yeah, because especially he's into the classics, you know, which is another thing. Like my dad, like really pushed that on me, is like the classic cars and everything like that. So there's like another thing we had in common.
Yeah.
But like, what kind of art did he make? Like, or does he make still?
He went to Kendall and he mainly focused in graphic design. But he was also really good at figurative work. He was always really good at blending like a realistic but also kind of a cartoonish style together. So that's where the graphic design came into play. I wouldn't say he doesn't do it anymore. I would just say he's focused on other things recently. So he's still talented as all ever.
Mm-hmm. And then you said you have a third sibling.
Yeah, Monier's the middle. He's creative too, even though he doesn't say he is. He's focused mostly on the business side, and he went to school for business, and but he's a really skilled carpenter. Like really, he was always really good at toy model. Again, cars, like Michigan, like we love cars, you know. So, and that's like, I think another thing that steered Jason to cars out here is there's like this big gap of not many people know what to do with classic cars out here, but they exist, and they're just like, well, it's been in my garage for 20 years. It's my grandma's. So.
Right. So I did want to talk to you a little bit more about, you know, growing up. You said you wanted to be a painter when you were younger.
Yeah.
What medium did you start with? I mean, is it like, was it always like, I need to paint, or?
Drawing too. It started a lot with drawing too, but it's just kind of one of those things where there wasn't like one moment. It was like, you know, when you're a little kid, your family gives you, you know, safe watercolors or Crayola and crayons and coloring books and stuff. It just never stopped. It just kept progressing. Like from one coloring book to now I just have a plain sketchbook where I just make my own things. And, you know, my mom would be like, okay, well, let's try getting you in different classes. And of course there was art classes at my school, but it was just always kind of, you know, it's a Flint school, so it was like kind of a blow off, most art classes there, unfortunately. So I think another big step was finally my parents got me into Mott Community College when I was either 15 or 16. So that like really pushed me to develop my skills. But and yeah, it's always gone back and forth from drawing to paint.
And was there any like artists that you kind of blew the door open?
Oh, when I was little, I loved anime. Like when I was young, I loved anime. So I was always obsessed with like Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z and all those manga cartoons. But then I also liked, I don't know why, it was always on TV, the free PBS, like In an Artist's Life. So it was like the free educational TV or whatever we had. So that showed me a lot of like Degas, Monet, Manet, Mary Cassatt, like a lot of the impressionists, which then like opened up the door to more abstract artists too. And then surrealism. So surrealism was something that always stuck that I didn't know I was doing until I went to school, and they were like, oh, you're a surrealist. And I was like, oh, well, thank you for putting a name to the thing that I've always been doing. Yeah. So I've always been drawn to like not replicating what I see. I've always been drawn to like trying to make like fantasy worlds or dreamlike landscapes. And again, as a kid, I played by myself a lot, like outside in the woods, and you know the boys, there's a bit of age gap, so they always had each other, And
Yeah.
sometimes they would let me join, but most of the time I was by myself.
Yeah, and that's where you had your imagination.
Yeah, I had so many like imaginary friends and forest nooks and, you know, making up worlds and
Right.
yeah.
The surrealism, I'm not going to show your art yet. I'm going to save that a little bit, but I kept like looking at some of your paintings to kind of see the like when I look at it, I'm like, okay, there's this distinct thing in it where I could say now this is something that Krista painted because there's this connection between all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep getting, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the red you use, but there's this uncomfortable feeling I'm getting with this kind of growth pulling.
Yeah.
There's like the fluidity of like something getting pulled into something. I don't know if you're intentionally doing that or if it's just happening.
That's always been kind of one of my, it's like a visceral type of body versus nature, you know. It's always like about the connection of things and yeah, and I actually, if you're uncomfortable, that's kind of like what I want.
Yeah,
like,
I know. I mean,
I kind of want people to be a little uneasy when they're looking at my work because it challenges them in a way to you know, look inside themselves about what their own connections mean.
Right. So okay.
For the person that doesn't understand, what is surrealism?
Surrealism is more so the depiction of a dreamlike landscape or a state of things in a realistic way. So it kind of gives you enough to ground you in realism, but then you realize like it's a juxtaposition of, you know, a tree can't really be underwater, but for some reason we have like familiarity with it, or like
Salvatore Dali would be like, you seen
Dali he's my least favorite surrealist though.
I know, but I think
don't like Dali.
I think for the people that want to understand it, it's like
he was kind of kicked out of the surrealists, and he was also
was he really?
Yeah, and he was also pretty into Hitler, so
see, I don't know all this.
He kind of liked Hitler a lot, so
okay. All right.
Yeah, that's why he was like the surrealists. It was like a whole crew of people. They were just like, yeah, bro, we're not with that.
Really, I did not know. Okay, well,
he got kicked out.
Well, now I'm gonna delete him from my Facebook.
The surrealists I enjoy: Dorothea Tanning, Lenora Carrington, Max Ernst. Those are like my three, and at some point they all dated each other too, so that's really weird, but I really enjoy their work.
Mm-hmm.
Dated, like went out with each other?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right. At one point they were all, especially Max and Lenora, they were a big thing, but yeah.
So outside of surrealism, like, have you ever dabbled in any other area? Like,
well, I've done it all because of schools.
Right.
So, but
by
it's
choice,
just
though, by choice. I'm saying, like,
but yeah, by choice. You know, a lot of color theory work, and you know, it's hard because my style you can explain an artist's style is like a signature. So, you know, when you just make your signature, how it just kind of comes out, like the way you handwrite things, it just has a way of, oh, that's Krista's handwriting. It's very similar with the way you make art. It's just as you get older, it can evolve and you can refine it, you know, and sometimes it's about not refining it too much and letting it be. So it's kind of hard to like do other things besides me at this point. Like now I kind of know what my style is. It's not really that I don't want to, it's just that it's not what comes out.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I mean, there may be I would assume there may be a time that you kind of evolve into something else, you know.
But like I said, Impressionism, like that kind of painting, and I'm blanking on what it's called, neo-romanticism. I forget now, but
so why don't you explain those as a, you know, Impressionism? I know surrealism. I know that what defines
Impressionism, Monet, like the really fuzzy kind of landscapes that led into abstract, right before.
Is that like kind of like
Like
the dot art? The
pointillism? That's dot art's pointillism.
okay, but that's
But
not
yeah,
part of impressionism.
yeah, it's okay. I mean, they're all kind of, it's in the same,
Yeah.
genre
So,
and like
so like Van Gogh, what would that be?
Oh, you guys are giving me a history
I'm just, I have no idea.
off
Like,
the cuff. I'm like, what is Van Gogh? Postmodernism? Modern? You guys are giving me my history trivia. I'm rusty. Like, shoot, what is Van? It's in between there. He was like after Impressionism, right into Picasso. In between that era, correct? Now I feel terrible. I gotta brush up on my art history before I do these now.
Hey, I took all these art history classes too, but I was like this most of the time. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't even paying attention, but
Yeah, no, and also,
huh?
My art history courses was, about 10 years ago. So
Yeah, I mean it's been a while for me too.
but now you're gonna make. I wish I'm using my phone, but I would have immediately Googled that. Been like, oh shoot, what time?
and you're on camera, so.
And watch, once we're done talking, I'll be like, oh shit, that's what it was. So
Right. I mean, I'm sure you know more than the average person, But I did want to ask, like, so like I know when I paint sometimes, like I look at a canvas and I'm like, okay, it kind of determines like what I'm going to paint, or if I'm thinking about like trying to depict something, it determines what type of canvas or like what dimension canvas I'm going to.
yeah. I mean, there's no right or wrong way to start a piece. Sometimes I'll have a sketch and I'll know exactly what dimension that sketch is going to require.
Mm-hmm.
Like the piece that I'm working on right now, I had a sketch because originally I was going to do it as a mural, and then the mural fell through and stuff. So I kind of already knew what kind of dimensions it needed to be.
Why'd the mural? Okay.
We have disagreements. I wanted to be paid. They didn't really want to be.
I thought it had something to do with social distancing.
No, that would have made more sense. But I do have a friend of mine who owns a restaurant who we're talking about doing a mural, and that might happen still too. We've always gone back and forth about talking about that one too.
Okay. So is there? I mean, where is your like kind of?
Right now, I haven't branched out into murals in LA, and also I don't even know if I necessarily will yet. I'm still pretty content at creating a body of work in my studio on canvases that people can either enjoy at my shows or purchase for their own homes. Like, to branch out into murals and to street art and all that is it's wonderful, but I just don't see it fitting right now for what I'm doing. Especially since I'm still trying to figure out, like, I'm trying to create a new body of work actually right now. And quarantine has definitely changed that. I was already planning on starting a new body of work, but now that I'm in quarantine, everything's kind of shifted. Some good and some bad. But it is either way, the fact that I'm still able to create is exciting for me.
And with the quarantine, do you feel like you've been getting more motivated to get kind of things done, or do you feel like okay, I'm not gonna lie, like you sent me an interview that you did a while ago, and
yeah,
I actually finished listening to it today, and you had mentioned how your kind of your like motivation of like combining nature and urban settings,
yeah,
is kind of like a driving force for you, like being
it has
inside.
definitely. Yeah. I mean, especially in LA, it's made it a lot easier to see like what happens when you take out humans out of the equation of nature and all the structures that we've built. Like there are certain things that were being built in my area that just from the lack of human attention to it for 2 months, like nature's already taken it back over. So that's like always the interesting dynamic I'm into about seeing our place with nature, and then also like how we struggle constantly to coexist. And
What kind of the
but yeah.
situation with the pollution, when we first went in lockdown, it's like how quickly the world
And that's
corrected
wonderful.
itself,
That's
right?
actually kind of a wonderful thing to see, that if we just take a minute to stop and break, like the sky will clear up, and the trees will start doing their job, and we should be able to breathe the LA air again, because LA smog is so terrible. Like I can actually see the ocean from where I live now.
Yeah.
On a clear day, and you like forget that, oh yeah, the ocean's only like what, 8 miles, 10 miles away.
Right.
Because I live I live by Runyon Canyon, so if you just get to the top of that, you're like, oh, that is the ocean. I could never see that before.
Yeah. So onto Holly, what made you guys like I know Jason kind of brought you in, but like what made him move out here, and like why is Hollywood the choice?
It was close to the bar restaurant that I work at.
Okay.
Also, one of the girls I worked with needed a roommate, and I was tired of, I was like, yeah, it's probably time for me and Jason to part ways. We're siblings. It's really hard to live together. So the place that I found with her was it just so happened to be this place, and it's beautiful. I have my studio here, so there's no reason, and it's rent controlled. There's no reason for me to leave. Like I am locked in on my rent control. So,
do you have?
I don't know why Jason actually originally came out here. He had his own wild young things that he was doing. I don't know his specific reason probably because it was fun. California babes. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it wasn't Michigan. We had family out here. We had Uncle William out here. We had Denise and Emily were out here at that point.
Yeah.
So. Because he's been out here for 15, 18 years.
Crazy,
almost.
Man.
Because if I'm going on my 9th year, he's been out here for at least 5 or 6 years before me.
Right. And the crazy thing is, my dad, when he moved to this country, he moved to Flint. He's originally from Flint.
So. Well, Flint at that time was pumping out like, I guess out to the world, like, hey, we need workers. We have all these factories that need workers, because like my dad originally started working at GM when he was young. Yeah.
That's the thing. And Arabs know cars, man. Back home, it's like it's like that's the thing to do.
And it's just easy, once he realized he didn't like that and hated that, it's like, the liquor store, beer, wine store business, like trade and market, that's in our genes.
Yeah.
Like, we know how to sell things, we know how to haggle. So you cannot go into my dad's store without, like, you will not leave empty-handed. Let's just say that. You will probably leave with, like, you went in for whatever, and then you'll probably be leaving with like a chair, and this is a wine store. He will sell you anything. And I love him for that.
Yeah. Okay, so I saw recently you were working on this like time-lapse like frog painting. Is that
yeah.
what you're doing right now?
Yeah, that's the one I'm working on right now.
Can we get a sneak peek of it? Is that okay?
Oh, sneak peek of it? Yeah.
It's okay. I don't want to pressure you or anything.
No, it's okay. I have you guys on a swivel, so I can actually just swivel you off here and see what happens. Let's see. I switched my camera around. Sorry. All right. Does that work?
Yeah.
So it's definitely in progress. And like I said, this was the one that I started because I already had the sketch for it.
Yeah. Okay, that's the one you were talking about a little while.
Yeah, there's those push and pull tendrils that you were talking about.
That's just kind of like There's
They'll
like,
be there. They're always there.
no,
It's
I
just
know.
something.
That's the thing that I'm seeing is like those red kind of like, that feeling you get when you watch Stranger Things.
Yeah. So
Okay, like,
there's
okay, so
certain.
you're saying it's obviously not done yet. What?
Yeah.
When do you know that that's finished? Because to me, I could see that hanging up right now.
Oh no. There's this whole section
The
is
top right, yeah, it's empty.
this whole is we got to figure this out. We have to find a way still. I have to find out a way. I know I've been in quarantine too long. It's me, myself, and I, guys. So eventually I got to find a way where everything is going to be coexisting together, and it's not going to be like, oh, object here, object here,
Gotcha.
object here. So
Yeah.
eventually everything is going to, be in its own, it's going to coexist together.
A
It's going to
unit.
be it's going to be like, I'm either going to push that back, bring this forward. You know what I mean? There just needs to be a foreground, middle ground, and background.
Okay.
So right now I'm still trying to figure it out and mold it through. Because in the sketch, I'll show you, the sketch was just so minimal and basic. Like,
the oil is so vibrant.
And I don't usually do sketches, but, this one just kind of, I was like, oh.
Can you do me a favor, Krista, please? Just your camera, just the landscape view. Yeah, please. Kind of get it better. Wow, okay.
And you do a lot of that too, like blackout faces, kind of distorted, like.
Yeah, he right now he might stay clear, but he might also end up distorted too. So
what happens if you decide to distort his face and then you change your mind?
I can just go back. That's the thing about oil is pretty great, is like I could do a whole day's worth of work, and if I don't like it, as long as this layer is dry. So in oil, you work in layers. Mm-hmm. So now that this layer is dry, anything that I do on top of it, if I don't like it, I can just wipe it away with mineral spirits.
That's so sick.
So you can erase it. That's why I work in layers too. I work with the fat over lean rule. So fat over lean is a chemical process. It's like how to layer your oils. So like they, like glue together, they solidify, they don't fight each other. So that way, like the layer underneath properly dries, it won't crack and make the other layer on top crack. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I was asking you earlier, might as well ask you now. Have you ever painted made a painting without stretching canvas and stretched it?
Sorry, I dropped you guys.
Sorry. Ouch.
Without stretching the canvas?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that before. I've always found it a little problematic because then it's like, how do I display it becomes an issue.
But you've never stretched it afterward?
It's kind of hard. You can do it, but you just have to make sure, like, especially if you did it with oil, like that you left room, because when you stretch a canvas, it's going to pull the image. So you don't really want to do that either. You don't want to stretch the image after it's solidified and it's done. Mm-hmm. So usually what you would do is you would probably just kind of gently tack it over a frame.
Yeah, because you don't need it.
It just sounds like so much more work than it needs to be. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you can do it. There's a way to do that. You can absolutely do it. Just
the only reason I ask is because, and I'm getting so selfish in asking this question. It's because I don't have the means. I have a bunch of canvases at my parents' house, and I don't have the means to transport them to my house. So my whole reasoning is like, okay, I'll bring the rolls over here, but I don't want to.
Just run a U-Haul. It's so cheap. It's
how big are these? How big are they?
Well, the thing is that, like, first of all, you know my car, John. It's like, yeah, like I barely fit in it, but it's like my whole reasoning is like, okay, I'm starting to work with like shadow, so like projection. Okay. And I'll get into this a little bit later, but like, so basically I graphic design an image and project it onto canvas and then paint it in like a kind of like a really dark shadow.
Mm.
And my whole thing is like, okay, maybe I could just kind of pin up the loose canvas onto the wall and just paint it that way, because I don't really have the room to work over here, man.
Yeah, a lot of people do that though, but it's fine. And also you don't necessarily have to put it on a frame to display it either.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of artists have displayed canvas just hanging on its own.
Material. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I saw a comment in the video chat, and someone said, what was that, post-impressionist, if I'm not mistaken?
Oh, Miracle Faith Davis.
Oh, okay. All right.
Did you Google it?
Yeah, I was wondering what that meant. I have no idea. I was just going to ask you guys. Like,
first she said grilling you, post-impressionist.
Oh, okay.
And then
I was ready, guys. Give me a break.
So my coworker said, "Yay for encouraging parents," because like we work in early childhood, and a big part of what we do. So like that's how I got, actually art is the reason I got into early childhood, because I kind of slipped into a part-time job of being like an assistant preschool teacher.
Yeah.
While I was working on my undergrad, and I don't know if you ever heard of. Have you ever heard of Reggio Emilia? It's a city in Italy.
Okay.
So Italy is like really art driven, like culturally, like it's like huge on like traditional art. And there's this city in Italy after World War II that was kind of in shambles, and this guy named Loris Malaguzzi, he like decided to kind of turn this city into something that's like for the children to kind of have ownership. So everything in the city is about the kids, and because of the culture, she said, no, I didn't Google. Because of the culture, it's the schools were very art driven. So I kind of fell into it because of that, because of a lot of our, and this is something I was going to ask you, right? So a lot of our way of encouraging children to work is about process over product.
Mm-hmm.
And that if you ever see a child work on art that's kind of fostered to kind of just do what they do, they will show you that what they are doing is more important than what they finish. So like I've seen kids who will spend the whole day painting or the whole day drawing or whatever, and at the end of all of it, it's like they don't care about what's left over. Like they don't care about what they made, they just cared about the process of doing it, which is why I got really into Jackson Pollock, in my early years, because he was all about it's
catharsis and
there's no accidents, and everything kind of happens, like I would paint, and like I used to get real frustrated that like the bristles would always, because I was very aggressive when I did paint, and it's all about the action, like the movement, and the like bristles would get stuck, or I used to smoke, and there would be like cigarette ash like landing in the painting, and at first I'm like trying to pick it out, but it's like, well, it's never an accident. Like that was always my thought process. So that's kind of how I taught the kids. That's why she was like, a lot of my belief in art kind of goes into what I do now. But I don't teach at the moment, but I teach teachers now. But when I was teaching, it was really like fostering kids for kind of encouraging them in a way where it's like there's no boundary to what you're doing. And the product, like having, my old priest once told me he used to love art until a teacher told him that there's no such thing as a purple train, because he had drawn a purple train. And it ruined it for him as a child. You know what I mean? So
that's terrible. That's terrible.
Right. That's the surrealism, right? The purple train.
It is actually. And then I was gonna say too, like Dadaism and into surrealism, they heavily relied on automatic processes, automatic drawing, automatic games. And what it is like exactly what you were describing, which led into Jackson Pollock's work too, as well, is it's like just stream of consciousness, pen to paper, what you feel, and scribbling it down, and then stepping back from that, and then whatever images you see, you can either, pull them forward, like you see a purple train, all of a sudden you can render it more and do a purple train.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have, different stages to my work. So like there, you'll see on my website and stuff, like there, you'll see more abstract, like really, visceral, cathartic kind of drawing, which sometimes I leave as is, or sometimes I'll just start fully rendering it more. So like you saw in the time lapse of the frog, I could have easily left it in the first stage where it was very like just drawing and, cathartic and I didn't know, but it was, for me, this piece just wanted to have more of a rendered landscape surrealism feel to it.
Yeah. I mean, there was that, I did appreciate like that first part where it was kind of like there was how do I describe it? It seemed like it was more connected when you were kind of sketching out the overall, because everything was kind of like flowed into each other.
Yeah, so that's where this is stuck. Like I have to get it back to the drawing stage where I can pull it back in together, because I've been working on fully rendering it with the paint, and now I'll when I'm working back on this next layer, it'll be about drawing again and pulling every object together.
Mm-hmm. But you're gonna do that obviously with the detail there now.
Yeah,
so that's where the challenge to me at least would be, because like I said, I look at that and I feel like that I wouldn't know what next step to take that to.
It's really funny because I have the people that do follow my work, that it's kind of this little bit of a war where they're like, I really like your abstract drawing, creatures, messy stuff, and then the other people are like, no, we love her fully rendered surrealist paintings. And like most artists would say, I'm probably hurting myself by not picking one route to do, but I've just never really, I feel like as my personality and as a person, I'm always going to be torn to go back and forth. Like I have more than one painting going at a time. So usually, like, actually I can pull this one right now, because this one, it'll show you just how messy my other format is, but that's how I get to the really rendered pieces. So like this one, it's crazy. Like it's like like that messiness could either end up rendered or not. So it's,
that's kind of like an abstract stage, right?
Yeah, and these are like when I'm referencing, I reference, a lot of, abandoned areas, abandoned landscapes, or unfortunately I go to a lot of, like Israel I'll reference a lot, Germany I'll reference a lot because of my family and stuff. So like a lot of war-stricken areas that have tried to heal and have some sort of, regrowth. Those areas I'm always fascinated by.
Yeah.
So.
Can we, speaking of your website, can we pull it up to show everybody?
Which one?
Your website.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Let me try to get it up here. Give me 1 second.
No worries.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
What was it like? Was there ever a moment where you painted something, or you were in the middle of something and someone tapped you on the shoulder and said, wow, that was really good, and that kind of, took you to the next level as far as your drive, let's say, to keep going with it?
For sure.
Like a teacher or something like that, maybe?
I had plenty of influences, especially like, I don't get into it too heavily, but when I first moved to LA and after I graduated with my BFA, I was completely burnt out. And I didn't make one drawing, one painting for almost 3 years. And I thought I would never even go back to it because I was so just beat down and kind of depressed about it. I just thought like there just wasn't a way to even get back to it. I had more than two. I had really good professors. They played a lot of, like good and bad with me. But I would say the biggest influences, we called him Fish. He took me under his wing and he did an independent study with me because I was just floundering and not doing really well at all about finding my voice, finding my style or my signature. And he luckily saw some potential in me versus a couple of other professors were like, just ignore the pretty girl too. And like, I even had one teacher tell me, I was like, oh, you're just too pretty. Like my work wasn't ever really going to be good because I was pretty. And I don't know. That was always a crazy thing that happened. But anyway, after that independent study, I like really, like he didn't let anything slide because it was just me and him. So I couldn't slip through any cracks. I couldn't procrastinate. I couldn't, bullshit him. And he saw right through it and developed my style and my skill. And even if you look at his painting style, there's a lot of similarities between him and I's. Like he definitely loved and delved into surrealism as well. His full name is Timothy Fisher. Okay. If anybody wants to, he has some work on Google and on the internet. But I also work a lot now in LA. I work a lot with Jen Stark. I'm one of her studio assistants, and she is so incredible at her work ethic and how she manages the business side of art and the creative side of art, because that was just always something for me where I can handle the creativity all day long, but the business side always overwhelmed me and stressed me out, and I never really knew how to be, because a good artist has to, everyone always, like you asked earlier, like how hard is it for an artist to be a business, to get their art noticed and recognized? And I would say it's that you have to be a business person too. You have to learn the business side of it. So Jen is a huge influence where anytime I have any question, she'll more than willing hand over some of her expertise to me, like, oh, in this situation, this scenario, this is what I would have done. And she's been a very good mentor of mine and really good.
That's Jen Stark. She has a website too?
Yeah, and we've done a couple of murals in LA, so they're pretty massive. You can't miss them. There's one in the Arts District, one in Culver City, and you can put hers up too. I helped paint both those in LA, so there was about 6 of us that worked on, I think both of them actually, because the one in Culver City is 2 different walls, which ended up spanning like 200 feet. And same for the one in the Arts District, which was a wraparound of 200 feet. Yeah, that's Jen's.
Okay, so which one are we looking at?
So the second one on the right, that is Culver City. And then the next one, yeah, that's Culver City, the platform. Oh, this is her website. Wonderful.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah. This beautiful piece right here in the front that you see, I had to sand that, which was insane.
This one up top?
Yeah, I painted it and I helped paint it and hand sanded it. That was crazy to sand.
This one?
Yeah, it's a reflective mirror and hand painted sculpture.
So what material is this?
Oh, it is steel and mirror.
Okay.
I think it's steel.
It's crazy. I would have to see it in person to kind of get the.
Yeah, she installed it. I think it's installed in California. I'll have to. It probably says it on the bottom, but it's too small for me to read. But yeah.
Spatial reflection 2019 mirrored stainless steel, acrylic paint, metal hardware, and pedestal.
Yeah.
No, 78 by 48 by 48 inches.
It was a beastie. That was, I think, the last thing I really worked on before quarantine. So,
Oh, really?
because we were supposed to do a mural in Orange County, but that got delayed too.
Oh, you can do it now.
I think we still have to. I don't know. We'll see if the city has to approve it.
I know.
So
It's getting there.
the city's not ready to approve art yet. They're still working on essential businesses.
Have you been to the Long Beach art scene?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. They're kind of like a mini Los Angeles, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I love all the beachy, you know, free Long Beach, Venice Beach, all those artistic vibes.
So this is like obviously another mirror thing right here.
What would this be like? What would this be like designated as if you had to put a name on it? Like
Her work
what type of artwork?
Contemporary art. Contemporary art with
okay.
She also has nature influences and color theory influences. Psychedelic art is one of the
because it definitely like the colors remind me of the 70s. Like I was around in the 70s. Okay, so this is you.
Oh, this is me.
Yeah.
Yep. Now you're on my page.
Like this disturbs this kind of like, okay, hold on.
Let's go to each one. Yeah, I want to see those like in depth a little bit.
Is this okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beauty.
This one doesn't disturb me at all.
So
but disturb is not negative, by the way. I'm not trying to say it in a negative way.
This was a commissioned piece. Okay. So they when I do commission pieces, they kind of it's a conversation between me and the buyer where they kind of give me a feel as to like which pieces of mine they already liked, but maybe they have already sold and they can't, you know, buy it. But this was different because he wanted it outdoors. So it's a removable mural basically.
Okay.
So
when you say commissioned, what does that mean exactly?
It wasn't an already made piece. So he gave me you know, half of the money down to create the piece. You know,
a specific item for him though, like for that person, right? Okay, all right.
This is a removable mural on the outside of his house.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let me ask you something. So you see this right here? Sorry to get into the detail of things.
Yeah.
What pops in your head for you to do? Just kind of throw something like that, because I see about four more of them, but this one caught my eye immediately. Like
I just like the relationship between nature and bodies. You know, I like having, you know, that connection between human life and nature life. Like I just feel like it's not very different. Like when you go down to the atoms of things.
Gotcha.
And that's again where some of the surrealist comes through. Sometimes I'll just be painting and a stroke will bring it up and I'll be like, oh, that looks great there. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So
gotcha. Okay.
Again, like I could show you the plan that went with that piece, but
could people commission you on your website, or do they have to?
Yeah. Most people contact me through either my email, which is on the website, or they contact me through Instagram.
That's right here. So they would do this whole thing.
Yeah.
This whole spiel.
Yeah.
Okay. John's cousin is watching right now, and he says, "Sorry, Ed. There's a lag in Facebook Live, so it takes me a while to answer questions. But I don't know if he's being serious or not. But he says, how do I get my right side of my brain stronger so I could be better at art?"
Who said that?
Dr. Ed.
Oh man. Motivation.
Yeah. How about mushrooms?
Yeah. Go to that third one right there. Or
This one?
Oh, that one. No, I was gonna say the other one, but this is good. I wanted to
this is like this is obviously a peacock. This is like so Middle Eastern to have peacock feathers in the house.
Yeah, it is too. It is a Middle Eastern thing. For sure.
Oh shoot, I didn't see this guy down here, dude.
Yeah.
so this one's Feathered Delights, and this was actually brought up from the Flint water tower.
Okay.
So that main chalice in the beginning started out from a drawing that was of the Flint water tower, and I just loved how peacocks resemble this like authority and rich kind of higher authority kind of upper class kind of bird, and how water in Flint is just this precious thing that like only like the higher ups really get to dictate where it goes. It's the beacon of life, and we don't, it's controlled. So. And
is the peacock represents that higher up?
Kind of, yeah. I've always felt like it's such a regal and beautiful bird, but it doesn't really serve much purpose. Like, it's just beautiful, but you don't really we don't eat peacocks, we don't, I don't know. They're just pretty things. So. Okay. I don't know. It kind of just that's where it comes into play for me. And I always like using animals instead of people to have this narrative.
Okay, so you tell me if I'm right or wrong. Is this like water representation right here?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
But okay. It's also its tail. And
okay, quick intermission because Ed is being pretty persistent here. He is saying, and for just in case this ever goes just audio, like podcast, like I'm sorry people, but you're going to have to go to the website, which is KristaAwad.com, AWAD. Ed says, okay, so I asked him and he said, I'm serious. I'm looking for hack. You didn't give her a chance to answer. And no, I don't do drugs, nor do I want to. But back to my question, how do I get started in art?
Well, first ask yourself, what kind of art are you drawn to? Are you drawn to paint? Are you drawn to drawing? Are you drawn to sculpture? Are you, I would just recommend just going to a store and grabbing a few things that call to you that you would feel like playing with. And the basic, that's the word, is to play. Get back to that childlike state where you're not like worried about selling this thing. You're not worried about who sees it and what sees it. You're focused on the ability of making something with your hands and your mind. And, even sometimes everyone's different. So like some people like to copy. So like, again, maybe just if there's an artist that you really enjoy, go ahead, grab a sketchbook and just copy it. Don't worry about the finalized product or anything. Just, like every artist copies every other artist. Like that's how we get to where we are. So like when everyone says original content, it's really hard because original content is always pulled from other artists and other, contemporary sources.
Ed, this is a good way to kind of put, I don't know, for me, Will, how many times did we draw Bart Simpson and the Ninja Turtles?
Oh, yeah.
Those little things back in the day, you know?
And you know what?
You got to start somewhere,
Ed actually said the same thing you were trying to convey at the same time. So it's obviously he understands. He said, so I shouldn't worry about the outcome. And that's kind of going back to what I was talking about earlier, is that it's about the process and not the product, right? Like it's about doing what you want to do because you're enjoying to do it in the moment, And one thing that kind of connects it all to me is what Picasso said about like every child's an artist. It's just how do they stay that way when they become adults? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And respecting that, like, society is gonna interfere with your growth, whether it's positive or negative. Some people have their hand and they're able to, like I mentioned earlier, like be able to foster that. But this is cool because it's almost like you never see a peacock in this kind of like this right here, like this guy right here.
Yeah.
That looks so evil to me.
Yeah.
Like not like it's like a. I know. See, I usually I don't.
This one was always just for me a state of hierarchy for me.
Right.
Because also chalices too. Chalices always represented a hierarchy, and those fruit bowls and those decadent fruit bowls that you couldn't really ever attain. Like all of it was just decadence for me. So, but underneath there's like obviously this feeling of uneasiness, like, okay, it's decadent, but it's just there's something about it. And that's where the color theory comes into play. Like certain colors will just activate a certain feeling in most general people, you know, like orange is a creative, happy feeling. Usually it's an energetic feeling. Blue is usually a general sad feeling. And I hate to like break colors down to that basic of an explanation, but just to make the point that I'm saying right now, that's where it is. So
yeah. Well, I mean, those colors have an effect on your mood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like whenever I'm working in primarily black and white, sometimes people are like, "Ooh, Krista's moody." I'm like, it's not. Oh, it doesn't always mean that. So.
And I'm gonna get to those black and whites that you do, because I get drawn into that, like.
Yeah.
Just the very like minimal amount of color to use, you know?
Yeah.
But, okay, hold on. So, and if you need to go, let us know too. I don't want to feel like.
It's okay. I'm sure we'll get to.
Yeah. So this is.
This is trippy. That looks like the background right there looks like something from Jupiter. You know, like the planet, like all that swirly.
It's good call. I've been looking at that a lot, actually.
I mean, it's obvious. Like in my head, it's obviously a figure, like a.
Have you seen any of those new pictures that have been coming out from those telescopes that have been?
Absolutely.
Those super HD 4K pictures, man, it's unbelievable.
I've been referencing those for a lot of my new stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good call. This one actually, I didn't reference the Jupiter photos because I made it before that, but I've always been interested in space too.
I mean, this looks like it's like a being getting like sucked into two different like dimensions or something.
Yeah,
like that. That's you know what I mean?
Very cool.
Yeah, this one I referenced a rabbit. Actually, it was a rabbit. Like, unfortunately, it was a little hanging carcass. But
oh, really?
Yeah, it was the way I found it when I was hiking. It's like its foot had gotten stuck and it had just started to decay there.
So did you take a photograph to reference later, or was it just something that?
No, actually I didn't take a photo. I just ended up sometimes if I need a reference photo, I'll just go to Google, but for the most part I just drew it from memory.
Okay.
Again, that's where I like drawing things from memory, because that's where I feel like I get my surrealist ideas from.
Yeah, because I'd imagine actually like taking a picture of something like that and then looking at it later would have gave like a different outcome.
Yeah, I liked that I drew it from memory, because then I came up with these. I always like these too. These like stark, urban type buildings and stuff too. Because I'm assuming the reason why that creature ended up dying the way it did was either some sort of human influence. So.
Hopefully it wasn't a virus.
Go do me a favor. There was one. Wow, that one's pretty cool.
Go ahead.
No, there was one on. I can't. Let me see. Which one was it? There was one. You know what? I think that there's the gray ones right there on like 1, 2, 3, 4 down, and then the blue right next to it.
This one right here?
Yeah.
Oh, that was another commission.
Oh man.
Same person?
No, different person. She lives in Michigan. We went to college together. Her husband, it was actually a gift for her husband. He has a koi fish pond, and she wanted to have something for him to as a gift.
When you make a painting, do you struggle with figuring out like I know some of them like there's representation, but this is obviously like bird's eye view. Do you struggle with like, is this going to be horizontal? Is this going to be vertical? And then when you do a commission painting, do you let them know like this is?
Well, commission paintings, commissions always start out with mock-ups. Mm-hmm. So, and then I'll even charge them first just for me to do the mock-ups.
Right.
So that way, like, I'm not going to spend hours, because it takes hours to make the plan and the mock-ups drawings, just for them to be like, oh, you know what, never mind. So, right from the beginning, I'll give you a quote as to like, I'll give you a choice. I'll make 3 to 5 different maybe sketches or mock-up.
It's a down
And
payment.
then, no, they're not painted, but
No,
that's
I'm saying it's a down payment almost like.
kind of, yeah. Well, the mock-ups are its own thing, and then the down payment for the painting.
Oh, on top of it.
Yeah, because then the painting itself, if it's going to be oils and then on canvas or on board, then I have to give them a quote for the supplies for that.
How long did something like that take to create, like to actually from start to finish?
This one was a Christmas present, so I had a bit of a rush, but I would say this one took me 6 weeks.
Oh, okay. And that's past the point of the initial like once you get the down payment, you start, and 6 weeks from there, here's the final product. Okay.
Well, I would say the time frame was 6 weeks, but how much time I actually put into it, I need to clock that better, like how much time I spent in the studio. But it took about 6 weeks, and I probably was working. This was pre-quarantine, so I still had all my other hats that I was wearing. So 6 weeks while doing a bunch of other stuff. So
gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like, I would say if I had to guess how many hours, like just working on this piece, probably like 3 weeks, 4 weeks straight.
Wow. Okay.
Like 5 days a week straight on that. And I usually put in like 4 to 5 hours each session. So
I mean, I'm guessing this is pretty accurate compared to the last sketch you do, right?
That's another thing.
That's another thing.
When you hire me for a commission, it's also based on faith that you enjoy my work and the style that I create. So you'll get the idea of it, but for the most part, I don't really know until it's done what exactly it's going to look like.
Yeah. Like
there's no sketch for oil painting.
Right.
Like you just got to you just got to trust me. You got to trust that you love my work and that you're going to like it in the end.
Oh.
So
yeah,
there was room when it's a commission, and a lot of artists will maybe argue this, but I would say like there's maybe a week or 2 weeks before you finish where you have room to show it to them and be like, okay, this is basically where it is now. So if there's anything that you really don't like about it, speak now or forever hold your peace. But I would say as you become more of a professional, you don't really do that, because it's not like you don't go into the back of the kitchen and tell the chef, hey, actually, I preferred if you used all these ingredients instead of what you planned for your perfect chef meal. Yeah. You know what I mean? You just trust it. You trust the process. So.
Right. This is cool. I like the blues.
Yeah, that's a glazing process on those fish. That was oil and glazing.
The glazing is something you do after?
Kind of, yeah. Glazing is a process you can do on top of the main oils to give it that translucent, like glowy water effect.
Okay.
I use liquid medium for that.
Like right here, right? Like
yeah, where if you could see that in person, there's multiple layers and depth to it. So
cool. It's
very glassy and.
Yeah, once all this crap's done in the world, you gotta let me know when the next show is. I should have came when I had the chance.
Well, my next show is in November, so
yeah, I mean,
I don't know the specific date, but I do know it's going to be in downtown LA, and it's going to be with Serendipity Labs again. So I'm excited about that.
Is that going to be in like your show alone, or are you?
Yep, they're showcasing my work. Okay. So like the last show I had was at their location in Hollywood. Now I'll be moving to their location in downtown LA.
Click on some of those, Will.
Okay,
like,
this is the one. This is the one that like, like, I feel like I'm watching the Kraken come out of come out of the water. Like I know that's not what it is.
Yeah.
Well, no. I mean, again, surrealism in art is subjective. So once I created it and put it out there, it's also up to the viewers to have their own, ideas about it.
But I also see a bird up here.
Yeah. There's a lot of birds.
Damn, I would have never seen that if you didn't say it. I swear.
Yeah.
I like referencing a lot of birds and a lot of animals and decay. Again, urban decay.
Yeah, see, I feel like this is like a dragon or something, man. Like I just, and then like this reminds me of sails, which kind of, or wings. Like I don't know what to see. And I noticed this one had, I don't know if it was a typo. You tell me. It says in arms of undertow, and then there's another one that says that. There's another, this one says it too. I don't know if that's a typo.
Excuse me, guys.
Or are they both?
I wonder why. Oh, maybe that's from the website. Yeah, I'll go back and fix it. But that the black.
I had a good question. I thought it was related. Okay.
They were related at some point. I painted those two around the same time, so
really?
they were like inverted of each other.
Yeah, because I kind of see the same.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. But.
You bursted Will's bubble.
Sorry. No,
scratch that question out.
But at the same time, it's hard to say. Like all my paintings are a bit related. So the last one, the black and white one, is actually all the insides turn cold and gray.
That's the name of it.
Yeah, yeah. And that's another thing about my where I pull from surrealists is I don't really like come up with crazy names. It's just the names are what it is or what you see.
So what's the naming process for you? Is this something that you're kind of thinking of while you're doing it and you're seeing the process happen, or is like after the painting, the painting is finished?
It's hard. The name comes from basically the feeling and description that I have from the work itself. So usually it comes out right away. So there wasn't really much, there's usually not much debate. Usually the first thing that comes to my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the title.
Okay. Because it took me and John like 6 days to come up with the name of this podcast.
Ed's asking a gazillion questions.
I know I know what he's trying to do because I had a bunch of questions for him.
Yeah.
Ed, sell your art at the swap meet. See, like this stuff leaves me like disturbed. This kind of like, it's almost, I feel like there's like a blurriness to it. I know that's intentional, obviously, and then there's this kind of praying mantis thing. Here.
Yeah, again, I like the relationship between the body and nature. So it's not always fun relationships, but yeah.
No, it's cool. I mean, yeah, I'm more into this type of feeling than I am when I go see like something that's just like clearly representational. Like it's there's still room to kind of interpret it, but it's like it is what it is. You know what I mean? And it's not this type of stuff that kind of gives me like this kind of uneasy feeling. I appreciate it more.
Yeah.
I don't know why I can't click out of this right now.
Now, when you do some of these, like when you're in that mode and you're painting, you're outlining, all that stuff, do you ever like, do you happen to drink while you do it sometimes, or smoke, or I'm just wondering?
Not usually. No,
not
usually. Okay. It's more, it's work too. So I'll have a glass of wine, but if I'm drunk, I can't do it. Like,
it doesn't help you in any way.
No, it does not help me. I like to be clear. I like to be focused. Sketching and drawing and all that, that's a little bit more loose and fluid that I can probably enjoy, but it's also like it's work. So I don't like to, I like to keep my, drinking.
You know how they say like doing either like, let's say marijuana or just drinking alcohol, it lowers the inhibition. So maybe you open up a little bit more and put it out on that paper, Yeah. I'm just thinking out loud. I don't know. I don't know nothing about this stuff. It's very interesting.
Usually, I don't really smoke weed that much. It usually just puts me to sleep.
It runs in the family.
Yeah, I can't really. I mean, like I said, I can't work and play together.
Gotcha.
For me, it would put me to. I don't know. I would go to sleep.
Yeah.
Gotta be focused.
So what's the inspiration behind this? This is like a.
It was actually like a volcanic. I believe it was like from Costa Rica. There was it was like always a kind of active volcano, but it kind of, the way the smoke and the clouds, melded it, you couldn't really tell where the volcano was or where the sky was. It was just this kind of such an uneasy, like, okay, this is a active volcano, we could not be here much longer. That's how
painted from memory.
Yeah, everything I paint from memory usually. That's why it'll have that familiarity of like, oh, is this a mountain or is this a tree? But then at some point you'll be like, but I don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Do you have like one that you appreciate the most?
No, not really. I do have things in each one that I'm like, probably could have kept tinkering or toying with that, but.
Gotcha. Do you ever, is there ever a painting or paintings that you just can't part yourself? Like,
no, sell them all.
You sell them all.
I'm an artist. I want to keep making. The sooner I can get them out there, the better. Otherwise, it gets pretty depressing seeing them all stacked up.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I've even had, if they start piling up too much, if I don't have a show, I'll lend them out to friends who I'm like hoping eventually they'll just end up buying them anyway.
Yeah.
But like my boyfriend had a piece at his house for a long time because I was like, I'm just running kind of out of space and your apartment needs art on its walls.
So this one.
That's a big one. That's like 8 feet tall.
No way.
Yeah. So that one's hanging up. That one's at the
60 by 96. Wow.
Yeah. So that one's hanging up at Serendipity Labs in Hollywood right now.
Dude, these greens, like this green right here, is so awesome. And then this is from this whole thing, like the red, man. Like this is the main one. I'm sorry.
Those are all cadmiums. Those are all my cadmiums, my expensive pigments. They're so worth it though. And they're also one of the most highly toxic pigments you can work with. So I love that when I'm trying to describe something that is so not safe and unhealthy for people, I like using like the same kind of colors that can reflect that. Like when you're in nature, how certain colors, you're like, oh, I probably shouldn't eat that because I think it's poisonous. Like certain creatures just know, your mind knows that like that color is bad for you.
Right.
It's pretty cool how you get such straight edges on like using a brush and paint. It's like something that you would use a ruler and draw it with like a pencil. And
so this one I kind of gauged it a bit. I did use a bit of a ruler and I did use a bit of a T-square. But then I also like pushing it where it gets like a little bit not so perfect. So you have this uneasy feeling of like, this was like a chemical by nature. It's referenced from like a factory that was abandoned. And it had all this like water pooling in it that turned like toxic green from leftover.
Wow, that's so cool right there. Right there, that it looks like a drip, and it's kind of oozing down or whatnot.
That's what I'm talking about. That's
awesome.
Unsettling like feeling like that. I feel like this kind of goes on in a lot of your work where it's kind of like there's like a lot of physics involved. There's not necessarily like, it doesn't seem like necessarily there's like one direction everything's going, but it seems like something's getting pulled or dropping or
multidimensional,
or suspended, or you know what I mean? Like all this movement right here.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Thank you.
Let's see what else. And if you got, I'm being serious, so if you gotta go.
I am losing a bit of track of time, guys.
That's right.
So if
you need to go,
any last questions or whatnot that you have?
No, I'm good. I mean, I just wanted to kind of go through them and kind of see your thoughts about them all. But I don't want to keep you too long either.
Yeah, it would take a lot to go through every single one of them, but
So you said your next show is going to be in November, correct?
yes. Well,
Okay.
with everything that's going on, hopefully, yes. We will see. It's all tentative still, but I think for the most part, I'll be able to. I mean, November is still a bit of ways, but who knows? Everything's so uncertain right now.
Is this something that you have to be invited to, or can anybody go?
It'll be open to the public. The opening will be open to the public, and then I believe the space will be open business hours, like regular, so like 8 p.m. to 5 p.m.
Okay.
So that's another thing. I still haven't even been to the space yet because of quarantine.
Yeah.
So
now,
originally,
is there a website we can go, like someone could go to get that information?
Yeah. I update everything on either my main website, which is what you're on now, or I'll update. Usually, the best one is Instagram. So that was my last show.
Okay.
So like if I have a RSVP link or anything like that, I'll make sure I put it on all my social media platforms. So you can find me either on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Yeah. And I got TikTok now.
And so. this is the spelling of your name, so everybody knows.
Yeah.
We'll definitely put like a link to your Instagram and stuff on the description of the video.
Yeah, and the link to the website's good too, because on the website there's a link to all my socials. So.
Oh, okay, right there, beautiful.
Yeah, all right. You just click whichever one.
Yeah,
awesome.
So
that's my Instagram. Yep.
Instagram, Facebook's right here. Facebook.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, and we got a notification from a loved one over here. Yeah, and then Twitter, right? Twitter's right here.
Yeah, so, Twitter's good. I that's my boyfriend. I always repost. My boyfriend's much more active on Twitter than me, so I'm always reposting his stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But it's mostly IG and Facebook.
Yeah.
And obviously the website. So I'm gonna encourage it if any of you are looking to kind of see like this art is like standing out to anybody. Obviously, you could contact Krista right here, and I'm sure she'll get back to you. We have a lot of time these days.
Yeah, it goes directly to my email account, so I get notifications right away.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right. Well, I want to thank you again for taking time.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
It's kind of unfortunate we had to meet through a video chat, but
well, when this is all over, we can like meet in real life now.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna be there in November.
Yay! Thank you. And I'll keep everybody posted as to like the time and where it wins. So.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Anyway, thanks again.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Tell Jason I said hi.
I will for sure.
Yeah.
And for everybody that's watching, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, go ahead to go onto her website and look out for her new art and her show coming up in November. So we'll definitely see you guys very soon. Thanks again for coming on.
Yeah,
see you, buddy.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Yeah, you're welcome. Bye.
All right.
See ya.
Cool. All right. How long were we on for?
It says hour and 37 minutes.
Big time. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. How did you feel about that one?
It was good. I just I'm listening the whole time. I'm trying to figure out a question and stuff, but when it comes to talking about something like that, there's no cutting corners. You have to let them talk and explain, and all I was trying to do is for the lay person, like, that doesn't